Misanthropy by L.J. Ruiz. Read by L.J. Ruiz. You can change the world, or the world can change you. Chapter 1. A Girl and Her Cat. Beep, 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 beep. This cold December morning, my alarm went off for what seemed like an eternity while my brain struggled to register it. I had no reason for an alarm. It was a relic of a period of my life when I had things to do and places to be. Now I had neither. So why in the world would I set an alarm for today? After about 100 loud and obnoxious chirps of that darned device, I swung a hand blindly out from my blanket cocoon and attempted to turn it off. The alarm was on my phone and required a careful swipe. There was a passcode to activate before I could even use the phone, and I was too groggy to enter it. Growing Hulk levels of frustrated, I threw my phone on the bed and smothered it with my pillow until the alarm died and silence filled the room. The next sound I heard was my cat, a solid black cat named Yoshi that slept on my bed. He ran this place and dictated my daily activity. If I didn't feed him or he needed watered, he would do whatever it took to annoy me to the point of submission. That's basically all my life was at this point, a series of submissions to forces around me. I deactivated the alarm and lifted Yoshi with my free hand, kissing the top of his head. And good morning to you, foul beast. He meowed in retort, so I hopped out of bed and walked to the bathroom, setting him on the counter before closing the door and looking in the mirror. As I washed up and did my morning awakening routine, there was another ritual I partook in, listening to a rock song to put me in a proper anti-people mood. As if I needed more motivation. I mean, have you been around these creatures? Today the song of choice was by a band I had a great amount of affinity for, called Ugly Kid Joe. The song I blasted off the speaker of my phone was entitled I Hate Everything About You, and frankly, I love everything about it. The apartment I lived in could be described as cozy, yet it was a smidge bigger than your standard prison cell. I'm exaggerating, of course, but barely. In fact, would you believe I had a kitchen and a living room that were both in the same room? There was an island in the kitchen, but it might as well have been put there to reduce the amount of open space in the apartment because I only used it when I ran out of room on the counter. The bathroom was just a glorified closet with plumbing, and there was a stupid cabinet someone built into the counter that I always slammed my foot into when I went into the bathroom. Sometimes closing the door, I would hit the cabinet, and it would prevent me from closing it, and that sucked. It really, really irritated me. Such as now when I went to close the door, and whack! The cabinet was open, and I had to close it before I had privacy. Hang on! I hear you screaming as you openly judge me while I continue to nitpick about first world problems. If you live by yourself, then what do you need privacy for? Just pee with the door open. Well, I would, but I was raised to close doors behind me, and it's a force of habit. So there you go. Chalk it up to old habits that never die. The apartment was also one of those despicable no pets allowed situations, but I didn't care. Yoshi was a good cat and stayed away from windows. His litter box was in the bathroom, and so were his food and water bowls. Any time I had to leave, he chilled in there while Mama ran errands. And when I got back, we partied. Just kidding. He runs amok around the apartment while I trip over him, usually holding food or drink. In the year of owning him, I swear I have the agility of a ninja to avoid tripping over him. Oh, sorry. Well, not sorry. I forgot to tell you about myself. That seems to be everyone's deal these days. People want to get to know you. They want to know everything about you. But why? Is it important to function alongside them? I don't ask the dude in line at the sandwich shop if he skates or if his favorite color is blue because it doesn't matter. I once saw a man in a skirt and makeup better than my favorite pop star, and you know what? I applaud him. That guy doesn't care what anyone thinks, and neither do I. That's what life should be about. The freedom to be you no matter who stares. Isn't that what this country is all about? Freedom of expression or something? Now, unlike this beautiful man, I do not like expressing myself. I am 21 years old as of May 18th. My hair is chin-length with straight bangs and a shiny burgundy color. My eyes are brown. My skin is worryingly pale. Let's see Crayola make a Crayola that tint. And every shirt I wear has either a reference to Japanese pop culture, a cat, or something related to video games. My name is Laura Ann Bowman, but I would like to be called by my nickname, Ren. Or Renbow, because it sounds like rainbow, and rainbows are pretty freaking awesome. I live on unemployment for the time being, but I'll get into that later. I never went to college, never been kissed, never had a boyfriend, and in fact never had a human friend. Just a cat whose existence is dependent on me waking up and functioning in a tiny empty apartment surrounded by noisy neighbors, all with bustling lives and relationships. Ick. I put on a pair of tights that look like denim jeans, complete with tears in the knees, a baby blue shirt with a yellow kitty's face in it, and my favorite white sneakers. And yes, for you weirdos out there, I'm wearing socks too. Just because I'm not social doesn't mean I'm a weirdo. However, I do think sandals and flip-flops are very impractical even here in New Mexico, where walking in a grassy area in the summer means you risk getting goat heads all over your feet. No thank you. I'll cover my puppies. Have a good day. So, back to the day at hand. There must be some reason my alarm went off, right? Some reason I consciously set it to the moment in the morning to rouse me from my dream of sword-fighting zombies on the wings of a biplane over Paris. Yeah, no joke. That's one reason I like sleeping so much. No, the reason my alarm was set because this day was my mom's birthday, and it was also December 26th. I immediately rang her up, and she picked up as though she were waiting for the call. I may be introverted to a fault, but I'm a mommy's girl at heart. Yet she still manages to annoy me like everyone else. "Hello, Laura," Mom cheerfully quipped with her trademark giggle. "Happy birthday, Mother, and for the last time, call me Ren." "Thank you, dear," she said, totally ignoring the latter half of my statement. "You remembered." I looked over at a whiteboard taped to my kitchen wall full of dates. Among them were today, labeled as follows: 12/26, call Mom, wish happy birthday, job hunt. Then under it were 12/29, rent, and 1/5, Yoshi appointment at vet. You know me, I stated flatly and walked over to a cabinet in the kitchen with about 10 mugs inside and chose one I got from a teacher that had the Japanese characters for tea printed on it. Rather than pour tea in, I got a cup of vanilla caramel coffee to start brewing and got 2 packets of sweetener and my favorite French vanilla creamer ready. "So, what are your plans for today?" she asked. "Same as every day. Exist," I stated in my usual irritated drawl. "Well, I need food. I gotta find a way to get my rent together and hope Mr. Buchanan grants me some leniency on a late payment. It's an uphill battle living in this toilet of an apartment, but it's the cheapest thing I can afford." "You're a responsible girl," she assured me in a positive inflection. "I bet you get it from your father." I snickered as I peeked at the filling coffee mug. I don't think frugality is genetic. Now, your dad loves you. He worked real hard for what we had." "Fair enough, but I never saw the guy." "Yes, you have. There are photos in the house." I scoffed. I could probably recognize the back of his head in a heartbeat. I saw that more than I saw his face. And it wasn't too far off from the truth. Sure, Dad had to travel a lot and made loads of money doing whatever it is he did, but he would ply us with cash and useless trinkets and be gone before we even had a chance to realize someone had entered the house. I remember him stopping by one day, handing me a PlayStation 4 and 6 games, then pecking me on the right cheek and vanishing into thin air. It was so sudden I literally had no idea how the thing ended up in my hands. "You know that's not entirely the case," Mom assured me, trying to hold on to her chipper tone. "So how are you? Did you have a good Christmas?" I opened the fridge and stuck my head inside. "Yep, slept right through it." "Oh, Ren," Mom groaned. The disappointment was so thick I could drown in it, and chuckled softly to myself when she said this. "You know you can always come here for the holidays." "Mom, I don't think you understand social anxiety," I told her as I pulled the orange juice out. "I literally don't want to be around people. I can't. I have to force myself, and it sends me into a panic mode." "But why, dear?" "I don't know. It just does," I sighed, trying to piece together examples. "It's like my brain convinces me everyone around me is my worst enemy. I don't even like standing in lines at Subway." "Dear, don't be silly. There's no Subway in town." I facepalmed so hard that I saw stars. "I meant the restaurant, Mother," I groaned in abject annoyance. "Look, I have to go job hunting, so happy Job hunting?" Mom cried in a shriek so loud I actually had to hold the phone away from my face. "What happened with your old one?" I shrugged, but spoke casually. "I was mean to the customers." "But you worked in tech support," Mom said sadly. "I'm sorry, dear." "I'm not," I mused. "They deserved any sass I got." "Fine then, honey. I'll let you get to it." "Love you," I said flatly and blew a soft kiss. Mom made a million kissing noises over the phone, which caused me to hang up on her before pouring a cup of orange juice to drink with my coffee. I grabbed a cold toaster pastry in my mouth and took the mug and cup to my desk where my little laptop sat closed. I set my stuff down and opened the computer up and began checking my email and found every folder was empty. I checked my spam. Surprisingly, there were dating ads in there, so I kindly redirected them to the trash bin where they belonged. I glanced at the time and realized it was about to be 10 o'clock a.m., which meant only one thing: my neighbor was leaving for work. "Here we go," I said to myself and waited to hear his door slam. I grabbed my mug and cup right on cue as the door shut behind him with enough force to rattle this entire crappy apartment complex. "Forgot your lunch." "Ah, darn it, forgot my lunchbox," I heard him groan. There was a jingling of his keys, the pattering of his frantic stamping around the house, and finally the door slamming once more with enough intensity to make Godzilla blush. "Have a nice day," I grunted and set my cup and mug down. I gulped down the orange juice and noticed new spam emails from video sharing sites advertising video blogging. I threw those in the garbage as well and then used the internet search engine to look up job opportunities away from home. I figured if I couldn't work from home, like my old job in tech support, I could do something like record keeping or, and I cringe when I say this, a receptionist. Gag me with a spoon. I saw that a local counseling office needed a receptionist to fill in temporarily, so I decided to head there first. It was a mile walk, so I took a messenger bag with some protein bars in case I got hungry, a bottle of water in case I got thirsty, a Nintendo Switch in case I got bored, and earbuds in case I got annoyed. I decided to walk to this place and bury my nose in my phone, and sure enough, as soon as I made it to the sidewalk, an older black Chevy Malibu pulled up alongside me, and a guy about in his 20s with dark skin and short hair leaned my way. "Need a ride? I can give you a lift." "No thanks," I said and continued walking. "Are you headed far?" "I don't need a ride, mister," I replied with more angst in my tone, buried behind a forced smile. "Look, you don't have to trust me, but I don't mind helping you out, and I don't mind shooting you down. Now please, be on your way and stop following me or I'll slash your tires." He nodded in understanding, but proceeded to stop at the corner. "Hey, hang on!" He took out a piece of paper from nearby and scribbled something on it before crushing it into a ball and tossing it to me. "If you ever need a ride and can't get a hold of anyone, give me a call." I unraveled a small ball of paper as he drove away smiling. The paper said, "Raj, 555-8686. I threw the wad of paper to the ground and proceeded around the same corner to my destination. Since the doctor had no receptionist, there was no way to schedule an interview in advance. The ad explicitly stated to enter and request an interview. I was pessimistic about getting the job, but at the very least I could grab some food and get some fresh air. The building where the doctor worked had a huge sign that said Mental Health Resources. I read somewhere that before this it was called the Head Doctor, but people kept going there thinking he was a general practitioner of medicine rather than a literal psychiatrist, and so he had to refer many patients to real doctors. There's no actual point to the story. I just thought it was really funny. Upon entering, I was immediately annoyed. There were 3 people in here. An elderly obese woman who kept clearing her throat at completely random times as if to get someone's attention, and a young girl about 12 years old taking a million selfies and adding filters to them. Girl, you are way too young for that. And finally, accompanying the young girl, I presume, was a gentleman of about 40 who had a hand over the side of his phone like he was shielding the screen, as if he were having an affair and attempting to hide it. Massive eye roll. I took a seat next to the old lady and pulled out the Nintendo. As I booted up Resident Evil, I felt the room quiver and jumped in my seat to the loudest thing I had ever heard. A grunt from the old woman in a futile attempt to clear her throat. I immediately stood and sat next to the man and the girl. I was across from them, and the girl stopped taking selfies to jump over and sit next to me. "What are you playing?" she asked. "A game where I murder zombies in a huge mansion," I said in a monotone voice. "Please go away." "Dad won't buy me one because he says they're too expensive," she said in the snottiest tone one girl her age could possibly muster. It was like she was being portrayed by a boomer who was attempting to act like a 12-year-old. "They ain't cheap," I said in the same flat drawl. "Goodbye." "I'll just tell my mom he's sleeping with my nanny. I'm sure he will buy me one to keep me from doing that." "I'm sure he can hear you," I said, glancing at the man. He was very tense and was clearly here to address something he was bottling up. It didn't seem like an affair. Seemed more like he didn't have any money. I did a little bit of amateur sleuthing and came to the conclusion from his demeanor he was texting his wife, assuring her everything was okay, even though he blew all their money on something stupid, possibly a night of fun with the boys, and was trying to find a good lie to cover his tracks. The best evidence of this was a tan line on his ring finger where his wedding band used to be. I know for a fact he gambled it away. The door finally opened and a woman came out crying. I smirked and said aloud, "Looks like somebody didn't get the job," before standing and approaching the counselor, who stood in the doorway with a frustrated look. "You'll have to wait your turn, young lady," he said. The name tag said Harold Howard, so I decided to approach him as casually as possible since he seemed swamped. "Actually, sir, I'm here about the receptionist position," I said. "You'll have to make an appointment," he said, but quickly recanted and kicked himself. "Damn, I need a receptionist to do that." "Problem solved," I announced and curtsied. "Guess you could just let me start right away and all your problems can end." He put the clipboard under his mustache and rubbed his chin. He was a sort of portly dude with a beer gut, but dressed in pressed slacks and had a short-sleeved button-up shirt. He had half-moon glasses on and no facial hair other than what I will refer to from now on as a porn stash, because it's the kind of bushy mustache you'd usually see on macho men from the 70s. This dude looked like he might have been born in the late 70s or early 80s, and judging by his short black hair and upright posture, I deduced he might have been a nerd, too. As I passed by the girl and her dad, I crop dusted them with a righteous, silent, but deadly fart that hit them 2 seconds later. It was 100% high-five worthy, if I do say so myself. Seeing them choke on my anti-personnel tear gas made my year. Dr. Howard led me into his office, and my detective skills were on point. Inside his office were tons of action figures, or as I like to teasingly call them, boy dolls, that were in cool poses and had little mock-ups of famous movie characters. One was a Terminator fighting RoboCop. Another had Batman or Robin hanging out in a little bat cave. Another had the Ghostbusters blasting the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man with little strings of neon orange and blue representing the streams of their proton packs. That one looked like some actual work went into making it, and frankly, I can't lie, I was impressed. "Please have a seat," he said, and sat down in a comfy-looking swivel chair. I was motioned to a big, cushy sofa and sat down. "So, tell me a little bit about yourself, Mrs. Wren," I said to him, "and I'm not a patient." "I know. The first thing people do when they meet is get to know one another." "Why, though?" I asked. I failed to see the point. I could care less about your personal life, so why would you want to know about mine? He snickered. "These are job-related as well as interpersonal." I knew he was using the job-related line to get me to open up, but decided to play along by screwing with him. I replied in a thick, husky Russian accent. "All right," I said. "Well, I am from Eastern Europe originally. Came to the U.S. with $14 in my pocket and a dream. Owned a sandwich shop in Little Tokyo for 7 years. Moved across the country where I studied law and graduated with honors from Juilliard. Got a 5.0 and took up a job at NASA where I built robots to explore the surface of Mars. And then later the same year rescued 18 Chilean miners before winning an Olympic gold medal for a record-breaking long jump." "Miss Wren, please," he said with a grin on his face. "Your real self, if you don't mind." I leaned forward and looked him dead in the eyes. "You calling me a liar, Howard?" "Do you have any friends?" he asked. "Nope," I said. "Not unless cats count." "Boyfriend?" "I don't think Mrs. Howard would appreciate you asking another woman that question." "I'm single, but thank you, Miss Wren. I'm trying to figure out who you are." "Tell me about yourself, then," I countered and leaned back, crossing my arms and legs stubbornly. "I got a master's degree in psychology from Brown and became a math teacher where I taught calculus for 6 years. I got bored of that and decided to be a criminal profiler for the police, but eventually mentored under Dr. Armin Fitzgerald, who owned this building and was a mental health therapist. When he died, he willed the business to me, and now I am the chief practitioner on staff." I slow clapped and smirked. "Impressive. Now, Miss Wren," he said, "I'll see your story and raise you a biography." I grunted and uncrossed my legs. I expected him to waver his gaze, but he kept full eye contact, blinking very little. "Fine," I said, finally breaking. "I'm a 21-year-old girl from Santa Fe whose dad was never there because he was always on the road or out of town making money. And Mom's annoying, overbearing, overprotective, and quite intrusive on my personal life. But she's my mom, and I can't dismiss her as easily as I can other authority figures." "Ever been in trouble with the law?" he asked. "You a narc?" I asked in reply. My other replies were similarly facetious and dismissive. "Smoke or drink?" he asked. "Reefer and Joe Crow. All night, all day." "Virgin?" I blushed jokingly. "Buy me a drink first, doctor," I said in a corny New England accent and batted my weak eyelashes. He chuckled. "I think I can tell exactly who you are, Wren." I gasped, legitimately offended. "You don't know me." "Wren, do you know what a misanthropist is?" I shrugged. Philanthropy's sister?" I cracked. He stared at me with a cold yet compassionate glare. "No, I don't know what that is." "It's the opposite of a philanthropist. See, philanthropist means person who loves people, but a misanthropist is a person who hates people." "Seems like it fits," I said. "I do despise humanity as a whole and prefer the company of animals." "Here's a hypothetical scenario," he posited, putting the clipboard on his lap and propping his leg up as a table. "You're in a desert dying of dehydration and riding a camel that is weakened by fatigue. There's a town and water over a long stretch, but your only option is to walk. What would you do? My answer was my own. I'd go the opposite direction of the town and find the camel some water. He clicked his pen and started writing. Fascinating answer, he said. I've never heard that one before. Most people choose to abandon the camel and head to town, or cut open the camel for survival. I'll trust a hungry wolf before I trust a friendly person, I sneered arrogantly. I'm learning a lot about you already, he said. In fact, I have a treatment in mind. I swallowed hard, not liking where this was going. I think I'll be leaving now, I said instead. He chuckled and stayed sitting. No, don't worry. All I want you to do is keep a video diary and post it online. Start a vlog? I groaned in disgust. I hate watching those. They're so boring and lame. He took his phone out, typed in the word vlog, and handed it to me. Look how many views those have. I took it from him and read everything aloud. Introducing Marcy, 5,000 views. We went on a day trip, 16,000 views. She said yes, 9,000 views? This is absurd. Told you. He said, well, yeah, but that was the name of a video. But also 60,000 views? Jesus, these people are followed by thousands of subscribers. And they jabber on about absolutely nothing. I began typing into the search bar. Hang on, my mom has one of these stupid things too. Once it loaded, I nearly fainted. Megamom 67, 800 subscribers, and over 1 million watch hours? See, there's an audience for everything, he said. I handed his phone back to him and sat down. How can people just talk? They just do, he said. So if you want to work for me, here's your first job. He opened his wallet and took out 5 $20 bills. If you take this money, you'll need to make a video tonight and share it so I can watch it too. It has to be about yourself, and it has to be a minimum of 3 minutes long. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you do, then I will give you another 100 tomorrow, and after I confirm you did what I told you. I sucked my bottom lip hard and bit it. $200 was half my rent payment, and it was due tomorrow. The unemployment was drying up at the worst possible time, and if I could just babble for 3 minutes to random strangers on the internet, I could buy food. My stomach rumbled while I stared at the money. Your choice, Ren, he said. If you take the money, you're bound by your end of the deal. Come on, dude, I whined angrily. There's so many more things I'd rather do for that kind of money. Not that my parents would be particularly approve of, but at least in the privacy of a solitary room. I hesitated for a moment longer and finally caved. I snatched the money from his wimpy grip and stuffed it into my bag. Deal, I said with a defeated sigh. I'll tag you in it when I post it. He smiled. Good. Now, if I find out you took the money without making the video, you're fired, and I will see to it I'll get my $100 back one way or another. Is that a threat? I asked. He laughed. Don't be silly. What am I going to do? Send a loan shark after you? Nah, I'll just file a complaint in a small claims court. A lawsuit? What a dick! I grumbled under my breath and stormed out. Fine, I'll make your stupid video. I went out of the office into the lobby and snatched the phone from that 12-year-old girl who was obsessively taking selfies and put her phone in an aquarium in the lobby. Her father just sat there while she bawled like a baby. It felt good, but the phone wasn't badly damaged. They're waterproof nowadays to a certain depth. After all, her daddy can be blackmailed into getting her a new one. When I got home, I fed Yoshi and ate some food I bought along the way. Taco Bell. It would hold me until dinner, and then I would have to probably order out. I sat at my computer, making an account on a video sharing site called Action, and then tried to think of a username. Create a username, I said and looked at my cat. Creepy Cat Girl. I was disheartened that it was taken. So was Cat Girl, Creepy Cat, and Spooky Kitty. Ugh, damn 12-year-olds and their obsession with cats. Yoshi, help me come up with a good name. Yoshi was busy cleaning himself. Don't just sit there and lick your crotch. I'm in a crisis here. My mind raced and I sat back at the computer. Miss Shadow. Mrs. Shadow. No, all stupid, none fit. I leaned back and let my head hang off the chair in a fit of surrender. I looked over at my cat who was rubbing against the messenger bag I brought home with the 5 $20 bills still inside. I smirked and got an idea. Misanthropy, I said as I typed it. I bit my nails in eager anticipation for... Username taken. Are you freaking kidding me? I yelled. Keep it down over there, lady, a neighbor yelled through the wall. Why don't you come over here and make me, you ignorant clod? I'm making a phone call, he countered. Then hang up, I shot back. then added underscore separating the name, and guess what? From now on, I would be known as Miss underscore Anthropy. What have I gotten myself into?